for me, it's not about wanting to die. It's about, I don't think I can continue to live like this. I've gone through some things that people may or may not know. As they say, hindsight's 20/20, and it's a real kind of start 20/20 when you've turned down $1 million. I played hockey in front of 20,000 people, but there's nothing cooler than stepping through the ropes of a ring. I don't ever have nightmares about being stabbed. It was just the wrong place at the wrong time. They've never done it on someone my age. It's the youngest anyone's ever had that surgery. I was on 360 milligrams of Oxy a day. It ran my life.
I remember him just saying, I'm not fine, I can't do this anymore.
Get over it is the worst 3 words you can say to a depressed person because they can't get over it. I've got a lot of people I don't want to let down.
I didn't know if we were going to be able to make it through that dark place.
I think at this point in my life, sure, it's a group of great stories, but if you put it all together, I think it could affect people in a positive way and maybe open people's eyes to certain things.
The first time I met Chris was at Earl's golf tournament, and you could notice his personality right away because he was wearing a seashell bikini and going down a slip and slide.
He just has a very loud personality.
He's going to give you that impression first every time.
He's generally a pretty positive person.
As a father, he is super caring, just shows the kids everything. He has a lot of patience.
He's a social guy, friendly to everyone.
He's not embarrassed about anything.
His jokes might be questionable, but they're hilarious.
Every time that I met Chris Burns, I got a little extra piece of his story. Like tonight, I found out that he was Dr. Love, and it's just ridiculous. I'm jealous of his life. I wish I had experienced all those things that he has.
He's always happy, always tries to make other people happy.
He's just very outgoing and, I want to say, happy.
There's a stigma around it, right? If you have cancer, you have cancer. Here's my doctor's report, I have cancer, it's visible. Here's a tumor, right? Or, if you have diabetes, your blood sugar goes up, you need a needle to regulate it. If you have depression, it's your word. I was born in Dryden, Ontario, small town about 4 hours from Winnipeg. Started skating when I was 4. Didn't have many other opportunities than that. There was hockey to get out of there, or there was sit at the local bar till you were 40 and tell people about high school football. I didn't even have an idea if I was good until 14 or 15 when things kind of snowballed in midget, and I moved to Thunder Bay at 15. Played a year of midget there, made the junior team for 2 years, and it kind of evolved very quickly from there that I had some talent. By November of that year, I had about 15 scholarship offers, accepted a full scholarship to Denver University in February. We won the national championship in May, and then I was drafted by the San Jose Sharks in June of that year. They offered me a contract, $1.2 million with a signing bonus, and for 2 years. Looking back on that, I'd probably sign that paper, but at the time, it's such a snowball, quick process, and you're still questioning your own talent level. As they say, hindsight's 20/20, and it's a real kind of start 20/20 when you've turned down $1 million. And this whole dad story is going, and I'm standing there like, Jesus, where am I bleeding? And I pulled my shirt out, and my intestines were out, and held on to those pretty dearly. That ended the entire whole hockey thing. That's 20 years put in, and one night, one decision, 20 seconds, and it's over. It was done. I was in surgery for 13 or 14 hours, just getting, kind of put back together. They took out my spleen, my gallbladder, half of my pancreas, 3 feet of small intestine, a chunk of my bowel. Chris Burns, the hockey player, was dead. When you go from elite to bedridden, you don't just go back to elite. Looking back at 40, I'm like, wow, I wish I could tell 23-year-old me to give it a couple more years and maybe, end it on your terms a bit more. That would have maybe been a bit more at peace with it. But, it's kind of is what it is, and I was where I was, and what happened happened. So you can't change that. I wasn't comfortable just being Chris Burns at this point in my life, so I needed to have like the boxer or the wrestler, you know what I mean? I needed to have something to attach to it so that I kind of had meaning for what I was doing or had a reason to get up and go. I kind of just wanted to do something where I only had to rely on me. Every Monday night we watched Raw. Wrestling, you know, Raw's War, and religiously Monday nights we'd watch it. So one night, you know, about a dozen beers in, one of them said, "Burnsy, you should try this." And honest to God, that's how it started. I just wanted something that was immediately challenging, totally different from what I've done. And I loved it. It was a combination of athleticism, you know, and then you have to tell the story, you have to be able to talk on the microphone, you have to be able to, you know, fluidly go through this match where people say it's all planned. The first minute's planned and the last minute's planned. The middle 10 are on the fly. People say it's fake, but it's the most unfake thing I've ever done. It might be scripted, but it's sure not fake. I kind of realized that I wasn't getting any younger, and the being stabbed and then the boxing and then the wrestling for 5 or 6 years, it was adding up.
I remember him complaining about his neck for quite a while, and he almost was losing like all of his muscle in his left side.
I couldn't look up, I couldn't, you know, it was just, my whole here down was rotting. As we'd figure out a couple years later, it had broken in my vertebrae in the fifth cervical, between the fifth and sixth. It had broken the vertebrae and smashed the disc, and the disc had oozed into the spinal column. I was basically on about $400 worth of Oxy a day. Now, I had a prescription for that amount, and there were still times where I'd come up short because I'd overdosed or I'd taken too much or whatever. And I mean, after 8 hours of no dose, I was down on Main buying it.
I had to give him the money to go and buy this Oxy off the street because there's no way he could have gotten through the next 3 days without it. That was a pretty big low for him. I'm sure he didn't feel great about doing that, but that's what we had to do at that time.
It was an 8-hour alarm clock that was built into my head, you know, and you couldn't hit the snooze button. Let's go to the ball game. I can't, I have to take my Oxy. You know, let's go over dinner. I can't, I have to take my Oxy. Let's take the kids to the park. Not until after I've had my Oxy.
We went to the doctor, and the doctor wanted to slowly taper him off Oxy, and Chris just started feeling crummy right off the hop when he started lowering his dosage. So he just decided one night, I'm just going to stop doing it.
I was naked against the window just because I was so hot. I was just trying to cool off, and there's still, she left a mark from my head on the window. She won't clean it. It's just a reminder.
He was talking about football, and it was baseball that was on TV, and then he was talking about little green men in the corner, and he started laughing at them. Like it was awful. Green Bay Packers were playing an NFL game on TV, so that's what the green men were, but they were all over my room. I was just, you know, freaking out. And then I thought I was dying. By midnight on Sunday, she had me at the emergency room. Finally got to see a doctor. She said, "Well, I can give you more Oxy." You know, that was how she dealt with it. Here's more Oxy, and I said no. Somehow I managed to say no. It's probably one of the proudest moments of my life when I said no to that. It's one of my personal crowning achievements is getting off of that stuff and living to tell about it, because it was hell. We were in Port Harcourt Airport, and we had spent 10 days in Port Harcourt. I didn't even enjoy it, you know what I mean? Like, and I said, I think there's something wrong with me. Like mentally wrong with me. She looked up from People magazine or whatever garbage thing she was reading, and she didn't even bat a freaking eye. She said, "Well, let's look into it." You know, and it was just, I was like, that was that easy. I didn't even know what to do to help him. I thought that if I could keep everything perfect and do everything, that it would make it better for him.
A lot of people have it that you would never guess.
Every time I've seen him, he seems happy, and I would never, ever thought that.
Sometimes people who show that they're the happiest, they're actually not. I'm
kind of the furthest thing from depressed. Half the time, that's just me. The other half of the time, that's me working my ass off to keep that up. I think I've suffered with it for probably 10 or 12 years, but over those 10 or 12 years, probably 6 of them I had no idea what was wrong. He went from being super outgoing and friendly to kind of a little bit more reserved. I didn't know that it was depression. I just thought that maybe it was just a change of life. He didn't know, you know, if he was quite happy with having a family and settling down. I would get into major depressive states where, you know, you'd feel it coming on. You'd feel it coming on like a cold, you know, and you just start to wind down, you start to not care, you go to war with your own head. I wanted to make sure that there was nothing out of place, that there was nothing that would
cause him to be stressed out or upset with anything. So whether it's making sure the laundry was always done, the kids were perfect all the time, the grass was mowed, the dishes were done. I think I was trying to save him from not having to have any extra stress in his life, and I thought that maybe that his depression was because of things that I wasn't doing.
There's nothing that's exciting. My day ahead could be a root canal, 16 hours of hard labor, and then 3 hours of church. Or my day ahead could be partying with my buddies, a Jets game, a concert, and then a bonfire with a live band. And I'm equally dead to either one of them.
He was so unhappy that he said he didn't want to live anymore. He didn't want to kill himself, but he just didn't want to live anymore like that.
When you have to convince yourself when you open your eyes in the morning to get out of bed, and then half an hour later when you finally do, you've exuded your entire day's worth of energy. I was on the path to destruction. I mean, I was self-medicating, you know, drugs, cocaine, booze, whatever made you feel good right now, give me that.
I just remember calling his dad in the middle of the night and saying, we need to get him help. I don't know what we need to do. But at first it was a really big struggle because there was nowhere for him to go.
I called my dad and I just, you know, he'd known I'd been suffering with it for a few years, and I just said, it's getting really bad, you know, and he made a few calls, and 2 days later I was on a plane.
The first week that he was there was the hardest, I think for him probably and for us. It was just, he didn't know what was going on. He thought kind of that we'd left him there and weren't really there to support him, that we just kind of committed him to this place.
I take ownership of deciding my own fate. I'm not going to give that to anyone else, including Homewood, but Homewood gave me the tools.
He was starting to enjoy it, or enjoy the routine, and figuring out what was going on with him and taking that time out from life to work on him.
If you want to beat it or get through it or feel better, it's not up to someone else to fix you. You need to find it here first, decide you want to be better, and then work outwardly with people around you and how to get there. You just need to decide if you want to, you know, suffer with depression or if you want to live with depression. I've been on several medications for it. They just flatline you out even more. So even when you're not in a depressed state, you're not happy. Before I went to Homewood, it was these nightmares I was having nightly, and they were the most disturbing, disgusting things. You know, like there'd be a house fire and my kids would be burning in it. And in Homewood, they kind of figure it's a combination of some PTSD, post-traumatic stress from the stabbing, that's manifested itself kind of behind the scenes in my head, where I don't physically feel like it bothers me. I don't ever have nightmares about being stabbed. I'm on a medication now. It's a sleep, one for sleep and one for antipsychotic, which stops the nightmares. And I'm not on any antidepressive medications now, but because I sleep 8 hours, I'm more well equipped in the morning to get out of bed, which then kickstarts my day, and I can start, you know, I make the kids breakfast and I make the kids lunch for school and I go to work. And by noon, I'm kind of in a regular day. You know, I've got 2 little kids, I've got a wife, I've got, you know, friends around me and stuff like that. You need to see through the shit, right? And realize that there is a reason. There's plenty of reasons, really important reasons. We've been completely honest with them. They know dad has depression, right? Or when dad's depressed. They're smarter than we give them credit for. I think it's making them stronger. They're both boys. You're taught to be tough. Boys don't cry, things like that. I think it's teaching them a whole different side of what it's about to be a man.
His routine is what keeps him sane.
It all comes down to having the mindset and the power to get out of bed in the morning and start myself down the path towards a good day. You know, I've never had a down day after getting to the gym. Any kind of physical activity, it makes me feel great. I would say 100% of people, if they got more active, would feel better. And I think for people with depression, it's proven to give you some sort of a stimulant. I've become much more real with myself about what I strongly believe in, what bugs me, what pisses me off, what drives me crazy. And with so much inward focus on getting through this, if I didn't vent that or just say what I have to say and move past it, it would drive me crazy. As soon as I get it into 140 characters or less and I send it, I feel better.
He is fucking hilarious. I don't know how he has like 30,000 followers.
I've probably gotten more positive feedback and, hey, aren't you, the one funny bastard on Twitter and stuff like that, than I ever did in hockey or wrestling. It definitely is a therapeutic outlet for me.
There's very few marriages I've seen that people are actually best friends, that they really do enjoy each other's company and they love and respect each other.
She's the reason I'm still here. She's the reason I can sit in front of a camera and share this. Without her support, I just wouldn't have been able to, I don't think I'd be alive. She's given me a reason to believe that there's good in the world at points, I mean, she's a rock for me. She tells me what I need to hear when I need to hear it.
I don't think I'm doing a whole lot. I just think that I'm here to let Chris be him.
If everyone could have one person in their life like she's been for me, that's the key to living with this disease.
We're just so lucky to have each other because we just get it. We have a lot of fun together. We understand each other's flaws and we still are okay with it. And we've gone through a lot of stuff and days where we didn't know if we would make it through. Just knowing that he's there for me, no matter what challenge we face, we'll get through it.
I've kind of chosen at this point in my life to live with it, and it's never easy. Some days are harder than others, but it's a lot of lessons learned, and still learning them and applying them and remembering to apply them, and that's my personal way of doing what I do outside of my depression and not having the disease label me. I know there's a lot of people out there who are suffering with this alone and not telling anybody and stuff. So, to people like that, I just want them to know that the happiest people or the most outgoing people they might have it too. I can't tell you or anybody who watches this what they need to do, but I can tell them to start by talking to someone, anyone. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. And if you're still tuned in at this point, I'm guessing it had some sort of impact on you or someone or is close to you. I've found in watching some of these things before, they maybe have a great message and they might really hit home with you, but then at the end they just kind of leave you hanging and you're no better off than when you started. So I wanted to make sure to leave a few resources for you here at the end. And the first being is my own email that you can contact me at that I've developed for that, and that's outoftheblues@shaw.ca. Anyone can contact me at that. If you want to pass this video along and have them contact me, absolutely. It'll be totally private. And I'm not a doctor. I can't cure you or promise any miracles like that. But I can be your first contact. And I've gone through a lot of this. So anything you want to bounce off me or any questions or if you just need someone to chat with, by all means, get a hold of me at that. And that'll show up on the screen here at some point, I'm guessing. The second one is a friend of mine, Jim Demeray in Regina. He has understandus.ca, and Jim himself has had a lifelong battle with anxiety. Another fellow he works with on that site is an ADHD guy. So they kind of have a different aspect of a couple different illnesses that are out there. Check out that website, absolutely. It's got some amazing resources. Here's his logo and his Understand Us thing. The logo is great. It signifies the brain of anyone suffering with mental illness, so mosquitoes. And the third one is EliseSchachter.net. Elise is a wonderful girl I met a few years ago, and her story is one of extreme OCD. If you go online and YouTube, just her name, there's some of her talks, and some of her stories will blow you away. And she was a great friend of mine when I was, in Guelph. She was there with me, and we kind of went through some of the classes and stuff together. So we got really close. And she's an amazing girl. And by all means, even if you don't have OCD, check out her stuff. And she's brilliant. And she's amazing. So I wanted to get her on here, so people can see that as well. Yeah, and I guess this is kind of off the cuff at the end here, but I just want to thank Nolan and Audrey, for bringing this video to light, for giving it a platform and doing it right. I've thought about doing something like this for a lot of years, but it's something this serious, you don't just want to throw it together and videotape it with your phone and throw it out there. So thanks to them for taking the time and putting a professional touch on it. And thanks to my wife and kids, they've kind of grown with me with this and gone through it with me. And thanks to them and their support and understanding and patience, it's allowed me to get to the point where I can, do something like this to maybe help others, as they've kind of helped me. And also to my parents who have supported me. This was brand new to them too, and they're a little bit of an older age where this was not the norm for them. So for them to take the time and patience to help me out with this and monetarily to help me out when I had to go, away for a couple months, that was amazing on their part. And finally, I guess just, the whole message of this video is getting it out and talking about it and, getting the stigma away from, being tough and keeping it in. It doesn't matter who you are, and you need to find an outlet to speak to someone about it, and like I mentioned in the video, that then is shared, and then you share again, and it relieves the pressure on you to carry it all by yourself. So if you know anyone else who needs to see this or can benefit from seeing it, by all means share it. You don't need my permission to share it. Send it to whoever you want. Anyone who you think can benefit from seeing it, absolutely send it their way. And tell them about the emails and the web addresses I've talked about on this as well. So the more people we can get this to, the more people it can help. That's kind of the reason we did it. So thanks for watching. Thanks for spending 15 minutes of your day listening to my story. And I hope it helped you or someone you know. Thanks.